Hey everybody, my name is Axel Villamil, and this is 24 Shades of Blue podcast. We're back here with the amazing Madison Turner-Bob from the communications department. She's an operator and dispatcher. So let's talk about the two roles. Let's talk about, what you do. I don't think it's just, hey, 911, what's up?
I think definitely not.
More than that, yeah.
Yeah. So we do have two primary roles. The first being 911 call taking. And I think a lot of people don't know that when they call 911, whether it's for ambulance or fire, it's Toronto Police that answers the phone. We stay on the phone until we find out whether or not police are going to be required at a call. And I mean, that is a whole world unto itself, 911 call taking. The other aspects of call taking that we do is we also handle parking calls, which is always fun.
But like what type of parking calls? Like there's
every type
person
of parking
in my
call.
spot?
Yeah, those. Or, there's a 3-hour bylaw on my street and these people are just parked here and I don't know them, but I want them gone.
Peeking down and calling you like that?
Yeah, there's that. And we also do non-emerge. So a lot of times people call the police for all kinds of issues. Truly all kinds of issues. I've had a lady call because she had bees in her backyard and she thought we could do something about that. Not like a nest, but like a couple bees, So it's kind of like we run the gamut on the call take side between those really scary, upsetting emergency calls and then the really sometimes petty parking calls.
I feel like there's pros and cons to that though. Like people are like calling you for like, you want them to call you, no? And then
yeah, well, of course we want them to call us if it's something we can help them with. But that is always a question. Is it something that we can actually help you with? 911, of course, if you think you're having an emergency, yeah, definitely call us. But I think sometimes people call 911, for example, with COVID. Yeah. We've gotten a lot more calls on 911 for gatherings.
Ooh.
So I get it's not necessarily following the mandate or the law, but it's certainly not a 911 emergency.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of dealing with that. I mean, a lot of the time we have to redirect people to call non-emergency because the 911 calls are our priority. So we answer those before anything else. And as they come in, if there are 100 people calling into the non-emerge for various non-emergency but still police issues, those people have to wait. So I think that can be a struggle for some people.
Oh, I bet. It's funny. I'm going to lead in my next question here with a story because it's weird that I'm listening to you more in your calm voice right now. I feel like I spoke to you once. No joke. Did I yell at you? No. You helped me out because here's the story. I'm driving, brand new car, brand new. Driving, boom, hits me in the back, right? Luckily, there was no dent or anything. But I knew the protocol, right? I'm like, hey, I need your information. I got hit like clearly. Yeah. I just want to make sure just in case I feel something or, if something happens after with the car.
For sure.
So I tried. The guy refuses. He's refusing to give me his information. I'm like, well, I'm going to call the police. So I didn't call 911.
Well done.
Thank you.
10 points. Yes.
Thank you. I called, I think it's 22 division or somewhere, one of the divisions downtown. Call him up. Weirdly enough, as I'm listening more, I think I hear your voice.
No, there's no way.
No, it had to be.
No, but here's the thing. The police divisions, we don't work there. So we're in a central communications department.
So you're totally separated.
Totally separate. So when you call a station, usually you get an officer on the line working at the front desk and they can answer questions and stuff. But as far as calls for service, they'll direct you to us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because I got directed to an officer after. So
okay.
Maybe I didn't call I just called a general number maybe.
You could have called the non-emergency number. I mean, I can't tell you how many people get into car accidents and they don't know what their responsibilities are as far as like driving in Ontario. Yeah. You do have some requirements, right? You have to exchange. If the damage is going to be over $2,000 between the two vehicles, you have to go to a collision reporting center. Police don't come out to those calls for the most part, unless there's other factors like major injuries or impairedness.
But it's so useful because I literally said, hey, listen to the officer. And she went and said, she's like, you have to give him your information.
I love when that works.
It works too.
That could have been me actually. I love doing that. But yeah, I love when that works, but it certainly doesn't always work. And absolutely. I mean, the thing is, people get themselves in situations, especially over fender benders, which blows my mind. And then all of a sudden it'll be a road rage incident and somebody may pull a gun or a knife on you. And then these people who are like totally panicked will follow that car. And I'm just like, what are you doing? But, that's people in high stress situations make some interesting choices.
Exactly. So what should we do, when we are in those high stress situations, whether it's 911 or like what you just described?
Yeah.
How should we approach it when we do make that call to you and your team?
Well, I would say obviously make that call. If you think you need help, call us for sure. And if you think it's a 911 emergency, call us on 911. We will answer. And if it's not the right line to use, then we'll redirect you. But I mean, for the majority of our calls, what we really need is a location. And sometimes that's all we can get. So if you can only give one thing, if it's a crazy emergency or, you're passing out because you're choking or something, get us the location. We will find you and we will help you. We'll send help. Yeah. And then try to answer our questions because they're not arbitrary. There's a reason we're asking them. And it's for your benefit, the caller's benefit. It's not because we're super nosy, which sometimes we are, but mostly it's so we can help you properly.
How should we be reacting? Because obviously we're all like freaking out.
Yeah.
So
everybody's screaming.
What should we do in our heads? Like, again, I think for everybody listening is that let's train ourselves right here now to go, okay, emergency situation. What should I do before a call? So I'm not giving you complete gibberish.
I mean, to be honest with you, I doubt there are many people out there in real emergency situations who can take that beat and think about what they should do. When you get us on the phone, we'll try and calm you down. Sometimes that means talking really slowly to you. Sometimes that means, yelling at you until you're paying attention. I know that seems harsh, but we got to rein in the emotions so we can get you the help you need. For the most part, people tend to react the way we want them to. And we have a lot of tactics we use, like different tone of voice, different speed, faster, slower, and tone is huge in what we do. But yeah, I mean, I don't think people need to worry about what they need to give us when they call. They just need to listen and let us help you.
Madison, can we play a game? Ready?
Oh God.
Here's the game. Okay, ready? Here's the scene.
Oh no.
You're working.
Okay.
I'm calling you.
I anticipated this.
And yes. Yeah. Okay, good. Because this is on the spot right now. Just think about it.
Okay.
Okay. Here's the scene. Ring, ring, ring. Pick up. I don't know what's going on. There's an emergency.
Okay.
I can't breathe.
911. Do you need police, fire, or ambulance?
I think I need ambulance. I'm just...
Okay. Stay on the line. I'm going to get ambulance with us. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
And then you'll hear a beeping and you'll think I hung up, but I didn't.
Okay. Oh, really? That's what happens.
Yeah, the transfer is like this weird short beep tone for fire and ambulance. So
do they freak out? Is that what happens?
Some people just hang up. They're like, oh my God, they hung up on me. And they just disconnect the line. But I mean, for most of us, I think we try to talk to them while we're transferring. We're still on the line. We're still there. So we'll reassure.
Good note for everybody to know now is that that beep.
We probably didn't hang up on you.
Didn't hang up. Okay, great. I'm glad we did this little exercise.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm happy we did the scene.
Yeah.
That was awesome. But, we noticed, we were talking before, there's a lot of people that call that shouldn't be calling.
Yeah.
There's obviously those, you can have kids calling. I know cell phones has changed the game. Can we talk more about what that has done to either help you and also things that have come in that are not necessarily emergency? In
regard to cell phones, there are pros and cons. We are not super high tech. Most emergency centers aren't. So when you call on a cell phone, we don't know where you are. We may have a general idea based on the carrier that you have for your phone and the towers it pings off. And sometimes that gives us a really good location, like within 10 meters. And sometimes it's within a kilometer. And in downtown Toronto, that's a hot mess. We are not going to find you in high rises. The other thing with cell phones is people don't know that their old cell phones, when they take the SIM cards out, they still dial 911. So a cell phone is not a toy for a child. I mean, I know everybody loves that old school snake game, but the cell phone is, I know, on those old phones, so much fun. Best. But no, don't give a cell phone to a child because they may call 911 and then we're stuck because if we can't get an adult on the line, then we're concerned this child is unattended, basically. Yeah. And we have to send someone to look for them. And especially on what we call unregistered cell phones without a SIM card, we have almost no location to go on.
Of course, yeah.
So don't give your kid a cell phone. Also, Speaking of cell phones, I think it's the iPhone that has some sort of emergency setting where if you hit the volume button,
and I'm so scared I'm about to call 911 because it's about to. It's like counting down at 5.
So 4, it happens a lot in the morning. I think when people are like silencing their alarms.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So I don't want to say disable that because if you think you might need it, obviously it's a feature to use in emergencies. But yeah, be careful with your phones. Pocket dials are huge. And then oftentimes you hear like crazy noises and you're like, oh my God, is this person in serious trouble? No, it's in their pocket. But you can't necessarily tell that. It sounds like you're in the lake. So,
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you hear really good gossip and you're like,
sometimes you're like, what's going on here? Is that a TV show? Is this like the most dramatic life of any person ever? What's happening? No, but just be careful with your phones because it takes up our 911 lines. The other thing is, if you call 911 on a cell phone or a landline and you hang up on us, we have to call you back. So that takes a 911 operator. So if you do call 911 by accident, stay on the phone so we can answer you and you can tell us there's nothing wrong and then we can move on. Because the dialing back, the waiting for you to pick up, possibly leaving a voicemail message, it's really time consuming on a 911 line. And that means someone else may not be able to get through.
Of course. And the resources, like, or you only have so many people that are there and you guys need to be to the right people at the right time. So it's hard.
Yeah. Resources are always an issue, especially as the city grows, right? And that's why sometimes people dialing in for parking, which by the way can be done online. So check that out.
Okay.
Super easy.
Let them know.
And non-emerge, like those calls sometimes have to wait an extended period of time. I will also say there are a lot of things you can do on our website as far as reporting for non-emergency issues. We have a phone reporting situation where we can have an officer call you back for things like, your bike was stolen or not so much for crashes. That's something that you actually do have to go to the collision reporting center for if you want to report. But smaller crimes like damage to your vehicle, done in a parking lot, or theft from your vehicle, that kind of thing, it can all be done on our website. Or I can have an officer call you, but it can take a significant amount of time for them to call you back. So if you do it online, it's super easy. You just enter the information and then an officer will look into it. But they don't have to go through all those, what's your name, what's the location questions. It saves time.
Absolutely. And we'll put that link in the description so everybody can get to it
absolutely. Too. It's a great resource.
Our big question, I think, from everybody here in the studios for you is what's that call? What's that top of the story? I can't even say it. What's that big one?
I mean, I've had a couple when I was pretty new on the job. I had a call that affected me, not because like anything terrible happened, but just because my adrenaline was up so much during the whole thing. So I was on 911 and I got a call from this woman and she sounded out of breath. And she said, I need help. My mother is trying to jump out the window. And I was like, whoa, yeah. And so I'm getting ambulance on the line. I'm getting fire. We don't know how high up she is, right? If it's a high rise. So as the call progresses, I get more details. Her mother has mental health issues. She's been diagnosed with multiple disorders. She has a history of attempting suicide. And as I'm speaking to this woman, she's more and more out of breath. So I kind of get a picture of what's going on. She's physically holding her mother halfway out the window. Yeah. So I spent, I think, 25 minutes on this call with this woman, just basically being her cheerleader, right? Because in the first couple of minutes, I've gotten all the information I need. Yeah. We're on the way, but and I remember she just kept saying, I wish I was in better shape because she was like, devastating.
She's probably stripped and holding.
Right. Yeah. Just like struggling. And, I don't know if it was the 11th floor or the 17th. It was pretty high up. We did get there. We broke down the door. We got her mother in. We got her the care she needs. But for me, like as a new dispatcher and call taker, that was a big one.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you don't realize because you're trying to be the calm person in the situation. So the whole time I'm trying to remain cool, not like elevate my tone or anything to freak her out further. And then by the time I got done with that call, I was just like I needed a nap or a run. My adrenaline was just all over the place. And I was just wired.
Like, how do you handle your mental health on a day-to-day with all this that goes on?
Sometimes you have to take a beat and take a walk and, take a minute after a call like that or, go for a break outside or something. You have to, because we have to be in the right frame of mind to deal with people's emergencies. And when people call us, it is like, it's the worst day of their lives, right? Sometimes that's because their brand new car was hit. Sometimes that's because their mother is trying to harm herself, right? So, through all of that, we have to kind of maintain a calm and professional manner. You can't, if you empathize too much with a caller, it can kind of work against you, because I don't know if you've ever been like really emotional and someone comes to give you a hug and then you just lose it, right?
I've done it.
Yeah, it's like a human condition. So you want to try and avoid that, right? Because the goal is to bring the person down to a level where you can get the information you need and help them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a struggle. Mental health is a struggle.
I bet. I'm just like, it's just, as we all spoke about it and we're trying to talk about this episode, we're trying to think about how can we put ourselves in your shoes, but it seems like you constantly have to decompress every time. And, back to the mental health standpoint, like how does, I guess, the department help you guys when it comes to mental health? And, let's say you need a day off, or like if it's too much, like how does that work?
I mean, that is available to us. We've got a ton of resources at our disposal, like mental health and mental health well-being in policing, I think is a newer kind of aspect that they're paying more attention to. And when I say newer, I mean like in the last decade or two, right? Like it used to be, a police officer dealt with a horrible call or whatever, like, rub some dirt in it, get back out there, keep going, right? So we are moving, I think, progressively towards dealing with those mental health results, I guess, those reactions that you have, and the way it can just build up and build up and build up when it's everything you're doing all day, every day when you're at work. So it's good in that way. But as I'm probably going to say again, it's the weirdest job you'll ever do. And to ask someone to kind of see it from our position, it's almost impossible, because there are so many aspects of our job that are super weird. Like I couldn't even skim the surface. But I think the best mental health care for us is the people around you who do the job and work with you, who see like the way you react to things. And so they're better able to see when you're struggling or when you've dealt with something that's affected you, right?
Absolutely.
Because everybody has different, I can't think of the
perspective
word. No, like different thresholds.
Got it.
For what they can deal with, right? Some people, cruelty to animals calls really get them, and some people it's children, and some people it's old people or missing people. So we all react differently because we're all human, and so I think really the best way for us to continue to be mentally stable is for our coworkers to check in with us, and that happens, which is great.
That's awesome. It sounds like you have like a really great team.
We do. Yeah, we do.
That's so cool. I think it's like in any workplace, you need that great team. You do. Because you're really there in it together. Well,
and exactly, right? Because I mean, regardless of what job you do, it's the people around you who are doing that job with you who can really understand what you deal with.
100%. And I mean, as everything that happened over the last, year or so.
Oh, COVID.
Yeah, COVID and, a lot of the climate around policing. How has that affected you and your team? And, especially from how it was, where it was at its peak to where it is now, where it's becoming a very normalized thing. Like, how are you affected in that?
I think when we get calls from people, even people in emergencies, there's this belief or this feeling that the police are coming out to do harm. We're not there to do that. We as communications operators working with the police are there to help you. And that's what the police are doing too. That's what they're responding to. They're going to help. They're not going to, hurt people or, discriminate. I don't think that's anybody's intention when they actually go to a call. And, the way that things are sometimes represented in the media, especially when we see what's going on in the States in certain areas and their public reactions to it and everything, that kind of trickles over the border here. So it changes how we react and how the people calling us feel towards us. And again, a lot of people don't know they're speaking with the police when they get 911. But sometimes when they find out they're speaking with the police, the attitude changes and they're reticent to give information. And again, we're there to help you. That's our only purpose.
Yeah.
We're not trying to make your life harder. We're trying to make it better. So just if people could keep that in mind, we got to get back to part 2 of my job, which is the police dispatching. I didn't even touch on it.
Yeah, no, let's talk about that.
It's kind of related to this, I guess, because as call takers, when we get those calls, we have a computer system, obviously. We live in the 15th century?
World,
I don't know. Yeah. So the call takers send those calls over to the dispatchers, and the dispatchers are in charge of looking at what they have on their board. And kind of managing their resources, and their resources are police officers out on the road. And so that job can be almost more difficult because there is no mute button. You can't take a step away.
Yeah.
You have to be relieved, right? There always has to be someone in that seat for the officers, letting them know what's going on, giving them updates on calls. And that can also be an incredibly hard job because not only are you worried about the safety of your police officers, you're also worried about those calls that sit in pending that are considered emergencies possibly. And we just may not have officers to go. They might be tied up on something major shooting scenes, for example, like that can really decimate a division, right?
And there's only so many people that can
go,
right?
I mean, police officers are a finite resource like anything else. There are only so many we have, and they have to prioritize the calls they go to. And as a dispatcher, you're basically responsible for that because the officers on the ground are seeing the call that they're on. And they may be listening to what you're saying to other officers, but for the most part, they're dealing with that one call. Whereas as a dispatcher, you're looking at everything happening in the division and all the different calls that have to be dealt with and trying to triage, again, those calls so that the people in the most need get the help the fastest. And that can be a lot.
I mean, that's like in many of those emergency type situations where it's not just, from law enforcement, but like healthcare, right? They have to triage to like
Absolutely.
who's the case that's,
most urgent.
Exactly. Most urgent, like those codes and everything that are there for a reason. So, and it's just a process because that's the only way we can, help people.
Exactly.
Is by following that protocol. Yeah.
So I would also say to the public, be patient with us. We are doing the best that we can to get everybody the help that they need as fast as we can. There are calls that come up to our desk that can't be handled online or over the phone, break and enters, for example.
Yeah.
We have to come out. But if it's happened, 2 days ago and you just got back from vacation, unfortunately, that priority drops because the danger to you is lessened by the fact that someone's not there anymore, right? So I think probably one of the most frequently delayed response calls are break and enters. And I hate that because I can't imagine having my home broken into and the violation that would be.
Yeah,
and then waiting possibly more than a day for an officer to come and talk to you about it.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Oh, no.
But we've got to do what we can for the most people, the best job that we can do.
Exactly. And I mean, okay, let's talk about the finite amount. Let's say a bunch of people want to join up and there's people out here going, you know what, I want to help out. What are the steps in the hiring process and like what qualifications are kind of needed?
It's ever changing, like our job. But basically I would say go to the Toronto Police website, it's tps.on.ca. That's also where you can do reports, but there's a careers tab. You can check out the civilian careers communications operator. It's a great job. It's definitely a strange job and it's for a very particular type of person. And I personally believe you don't know if it's for you until you've gone through the training process and done it a little bit. And then you can kind of feel out whether or not you can cope, basically. But yeah, so through the website and then it's, I think like any other application process, a resume type of thing, why you want to do it. And then there's a very long hiring process. There are a whole bunch of tests we have to do.
I bet a lot of simulations.
You know what? Not that many simulations, right? Because we're going to train you on how to deal with that, I think.
Got it. Yeah.
But, we need to know that you can kind of stay cool when you're overwhelmed with information. And we also need to know that you can hear clearly because that's the job and use a computer. All these like really base level. You don't think about it, right? But baseline. Those are like huge. You have to be computer competent. And I mean, I don't personally think age is a factor, but certainly there are a lot of people out there who have a ton of life experience and will be great at the job, but maybe don't have the computer aspect of that. And then vice versa. There are a ton of people who are super computer savvy, but have maybe very little life experience. Yeah. So how do you talk to people? That's a job. You're constantly talking to people.
It's huge. It's huge. It's, you don't think about those aspects when we looking from the outside in because you're like, can they be personable? Can they like calm somebody down into that situation? And I even had a friend, he was applying to be a doctor, and it was like a very prestigious program, and he was so smart, but was not personable at all.
No bedside manner.
Exactly, no bedside manner. So he couldn't really, speak about those things that to calm somebody down during a heavy situation or an unfortunate, I guess, news to tell. So in your situation, we all have to really think about that. You have a lot of layers to the person that's on the other line.
Again, we have tactics. We have ways we can discuss and get people to come around to providing us the information we need. But you have to be able to talk to people. I mean, if anything else in the job, that is probably the most important aspect, is your ability to understand people and make yourself understood as well.
Absolutely. Well, you've been doing this for a while, so I just want to ask you, why do you do it?
Why do I do it? I don't know. I guess every day you go into work and you get to help somebody, which is awesome. And I mean, there are levels to that, right? Sometimes you get to help people in a really horrible situation. And sometimes you get to help people with parking. And sometimes, like any other job, you have just a totally awful day at work and you go home and you don't want to talk to anybody. Like my poor family and friends, I do not talk to people on the phone anymore because
I bet.
all I do all day. Like, I don't want to talk to you on the phone. I would say we could meet up, but COVID. So like, text me. I don't want to talk to you. So that is definitely a downside to it. But I mean, you get to help people. It's an awesome feeling when you really get to, reach out and touch someone's life in a positive way. I know we have an aging population right now. And in my experience, we're seeing a lot more issues with dementia and older people living alone, unable to care for themselves, or getting to the point where they need more help. And, sometimes we can't help them. But I know I was working one night, it was a midnight shift, and we got this call from a lady who sounded elderly, and she was lovely, but she was a little rambly. We were concerned. So I sent officers to go and see her. And there was really nothing they could do immediately to help her. She was functioning enough, but she was obviously like moving towards that stage where she was going to need more assistance. But at the time, like, they made her a cup of tea and they had a conversation with her. And I was just like, it's
what you
not,
don't see.
You don't see it, right? It's not an aspect of policing that you would expect. But so much of what they do is community outreach. And I think being able to help people and touch people and, be there when they need someone is amazing. It's a great feeling.
Amazing. Well, thanks for sharing all that. And I'm so happy to learn about everything here. And I'm really sure the public is going to be really glad to hear all these things.
I hope so. We love you, Toronto.
Amazing. Well, everybody, this is 24 Shades of Blue. It's Madison, and we're out.